Ready to speak. We
A very, very good evening. A warm welcome on Friday the 13th. Not always the luckiest of evenings, but tonight it's properly lucky because you get to join us as guests of Pick n Pay for a very special evening with not just an extraordinary chef, but one of the coolest winemakers in South Africa. And I'll tell you just a little bit more about him in a moment. First of all, I'm Dan Nicol, host of Dan Really Likes Wine, which is very proudly presented by Pick n Pay, my weekly wine show, which is really just an incredibly clever and elaborate ruse to allow me to drink great South African wine on a weekly basis. And there is no country in the world, and I've traveled to many of them, that delivers the quality of wine we have here in South Africa, especially at the price. And we're going to see exactly that tonight as we take some superb wine which you have, together with some food, a great chef, a wonderful winemaker, and give you an unforgettable evening. So thank you very much for joining. In particular, thank you our members of the Pick n Pay Wine Club who've joined us with an extra special deal. If you're not a member of the Pick n Pay Wine Club, I don't know why not, because it's free to join. You get amazing benefits and you get access to such cool events like this one, as well as great wine. So if you're not already, make sure you are by the end of the weekend. But for now, start just doing a little bit of light stretching, maybe get those arms going slightly and prepare yourself, because there's some serious cooking and some serious wine drinking to be done over the next little while. A couple of technical things to do. Please make sure, for the best view of this evening and how it plays out, jump onto speaker view. They're the three dots in the corner of your screen, and that'll ensure that you're either focused on me or momentarily a very good looking chef and a disarmingly handsome winemaker, and they'll be on screen for you for the course of the next hour or so as you make some terrific dishes, which might look a little challenging. They're actually quite simple, and they're going to add to your culinary repertoire marvelously and drink some really good South African wine. So what is that South African wine? Well, it's a guy called Johan Reyneke, who, to be quite honest, probably doesn't really want to be here, because if you're given the option, he'd rather be out on the waves. He is one of South Africa's top amateur surfers, but when he's not barreling along 12-footers and looking particularly good in suspiciously tight swimwear, he's making some of South Africa's best wine, not just in terms of what it tastes like, but also in terms of how it is made. He's the man who wrote the book on organic wine, on biodynamic wine farming. If you don't know what that means, well, you'll get a bit of an understanding through the course of this evening. Effectively, this is a man who knows and understands how to make wine so that it does the least amount of damage to the environment, to the ecosystem, and that's one of the reasons we're so excited to have him here this evening. Alongside of him, well, if you've done these events before, and this is our fourth one, Jonathan is part of the furniture, part of the family at Pick n Pay. He's an outstanding chef. He's also incredibly gifted at letting you understand recipes and getting you to feel confident about making food, and that is exactly what he is going to be doing today with the ingredients and the wine that have been delivered to you very kindly by Pick n Pay Online and the Pick n Pay Wine Club. So big thank you to them for their support and their partnership. And there's support and partnership in terms of getting even more out of this evening. You'll find out a little later on about the vouchers. You might have seen them already in your package that are going to allow you to get some great discounts and some great deals. And I'll remind you of those at the end of this evening. But there is also the chance, and this is where you need to get creative and get digitally savvy, the chance to win a 200 Rand voucher from Pick n Pay. And to do that, it comes in the form of Smart Shopper points. To do that, all you need to do is take a photo of the evening, glass of wine, your food going, the friends you've got around to help you do this evening, and we simply need you to post that on your favored social media platform and tag with a hashtag P&P Wine Club and tag Reyneke Wines. Throw those two in and 5 of you will win that really cool voucher, and we'll announce the winners a little later on. The winners will only be found out once we're done making some great food and drinking some terrific wine. So I'm going to ask Jonathan to come and join us along with Johan. But remember, the star of the show tonight is a great example of beautifully made South African wine. It's Reyneke Wines, it's organic, it's glorious, it's all yours for tonight. Enjoy the evening and enjoy the wine.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Pick and Pay Winemakers Table in association with Reyneke. My name is Jonathan Molden. Thanks very much, Dan, for a lovely introduction. And we're very, very honored to have Johan Reyneke joining us this evening. We're going to be doing an incredible evening with canapes, incredible wines. I'm going to teach you how to make 3 simple canapes. We're going to pair it with 3 unbelievable wines. And yeah, it's going to be a really great evening. And welcome, Johan. Thank you very much for coming to join us. Would you like to tell us a little bit about Reyneke and a little bit more about the farm?
Absolutely. Jonathan, thanks. Dan, thanks for the wonderful introduction, and everybody at home, thanks for joining us. It's so lekker to share good wine with good people, and I'm really looking forward to this event. Just to give you a sense of place, so Reyneke Wines is about 10 kilometers out of Stellenbosch. The vineyards are situated on the Polkadry Hills. So to give you a bit of a visual image, if you stand in these vineyards, you're going to look down to your left and see the historic town of Stellenbosch. If you look to your right, you might see a bit of False Bay and maybe Cape Point in the distance. If you look over your shoulder, you'll see Table Mountain far away. It's a beautiful place. I just feel lucky and privileged to be a part of this story. So happy to be here and looking forward to the evening.
Fantastic. That's been really, really great. So as Dan explained to you, you've all received a box being delivered to you by the Pick and Pay online team. Within that box, you'll have 3 beautiful wines. We've got the organic Shannon, we've got the Shiraz Cabernet Sauvignon, and we've got the
Cab Merlot.
Correct.
That's
all right,
the
and those are all the 3 wines, and we're going to be running through a beautiful tasting with you. We're going to start off with the Shannon. We're going to make a really nice canapé, and we're going to, as we go along, we're going to taste. We're going to create some canapés. It's going to be magnificent. All right. So before we get started, it's always important for you to get your kitchen sorted and get all your bowls and knives and boards and everything ready. Hopefully in your kitchen, you'll have you and your partner. One can be a sous chef, the other one can be the chef. Make sure you boss the other one around. You should have a knife together with a board ready. Get 3 little bowls ready as well, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a little bit what the French call mise en place, and that means a little bit of preparation. So for anything, preparation is key. And so what I want you to do is I want you to take out the box that says the little tortilla wrap and put that aside and get all of your ingredients ready. Put them out and place them on your board. You can open up the little packets and take them out and put them into some bowls, because then we're going to do a little bit of chopping and slicing and dicing and creating a beautiful little canapé. So the first wine which we're going to do is the organic Chenin.
Yep, it's this one, indeed.
Fantastic. And do you want to explain a little bit about the wine and a little bit about the characteristics of the wine?
Sure. So I think everybody is familiar with Chenin Blanc. It's one of my favorite cultivars. It's really suited very well to the South African climates. Perhaps it didn't quite receive its due in the old days. A lot of the grapes were just for distilling alcohol and things. But today, people take Chenin Blanc seriously. It's an absolutely wonderful grape to farm with, a beautiful wine to drink. I love it. I'm a fan of Shannon. It's quite versatile. You can have it as is. It's lovely with some food, as we're going to see in a minute. Just a little bit of background on this specific wine. Can I talk about the wine now?
Of course you can.
So basically, the soil or the place where the vine lives has a big influence on how the wine tastes. And as I mentioned, we live on a sort of a granite outcrop. But if you can imagine it over millennia through sort of extensive weathering and stuff, a lot of the fertile soil washed down into the valleys. And then some of these valleys catch a bit more sunlight. And if you add a bit of sunlight and you have more sandy soils and fertile soils, it tends to give you more fruit-forward wines. So in this specific Shannon, expect a lot of sort of fruity notes, floral notes, a bit of apple. We've got some green apple there and some hints of lime and stuff, which is just perfect for this. The story behind the story is that the wine is organic, which means completely unadulterated in the vineyard, no herbicides, pesticides, fungicides. And in the cellar, also, I would say the only additives would be grapes, thyme, and a bit of love. So, yeah, it's a grown wine.
That's really about the story, which makes it so phenomenal, is that it's not only organic, but it's actually, what is the
biodynamic?
Biodynamic, which is even a step above what organic is, really. I mean, a lot of farmers would use, obviously, organic fertilizer on their crops, but you're going one step further, aren't you?
Yeah, I think to give the viewers or our colleagues tonight a bit of background, my history definitely played a role in how I approach farming. So I studied philosophy and in particular environmental ethics. And I think with knowledge comes obligation. So if you read about us and our relationship with the planet, and we've become really powerful as human beings on this planet. And with that power comes a lot of responsibility. And we're stewards and we must look after nature. But as a student, I also got a job, not as a barman or as a waiter in a restaurant, but I got a job as a farm laborer. And that to me was quite, an experience to work every day with vines and soil and nature. And it just kindled a love in me for nature. So I'm trying to bring what I experienced as a worker and what I read in the evenings together. And this brought me to organics and biodynamics. And as Jonathan says, they're sort of similar but different. And the easiest way to explain it is, if I farm conventionally, I see my farm primarily as a business that I want to, run in a profitable way. And if I, for example, harvest grapes to put into my wine, I have to give something back. If I want sustainable yield, so I would just go and buy some fertilizer and put that in the vineyards, and I would have a sustainable yield the following year. But through my readings and experience, I've gotten to understand that I'm actually farming with two things. I'm farming with grapes, but I'm also farming with soil. And what's good for the goose is not necessarily good for the gander in the short term, although in the long term they do link up. So what we try to do is to look after our soil and our vines. And I've experienced that if I use conventional fertilizers, I look after the vines, but the microbes and the earthworms and the soil life suffers a bit. So one would use a certified organic fertilizer, which would be a sort of organic animal manure that they compost and pelletize, and one uses that. And that makes you more of a sustainable farmer. But if you're really serious about this and you want to go further down this path, you can go to biodynamics, which is one of the oldest forms of organic farming that exist. And what they do is they move the needle from being sustainable farming to self-sufficient farming. So again, if you use this example of feeding your vines, instead of buying an organic fertilizer, you would just go out and buy a cow. And then you would collect the manure from the cow, and you would make beautiful compost from that, feed that to your vines, and then you collect all the waste from the cellar at harvest time, and you feed that back to the cow again. So it's almost like a circular economy of sorts that we create on the farm, and Reyneke Wines is run along all of these principles. So they're not exclusive, they're inclusive. All biodynamic farms are also organic. They have to be certified as such. And it's just a fun way to farm and just a different approach to wine. It's not about making it, it's about growing it. And
absolutely.
Must tell you a story about the farm.
Yeah, I mean, I find that so interesting, and I really think it's something really different that you're doing, and it really is about closing that whole circle and making sure that it is sustainable, and obviously making sure that the soil grows in fantastic grapes for fantastic wine. And that's what we're going to taste tonight. I can't wait to do that. But before we do that, we need to start making a little bit of food. So in front of you guys, I'm sure that you've now had some time to prepare all your little dishes, make sure that everything is out and about. We're going to start off with the first one, which is going to be this beautiful little tortilla wrap. These are available in Pick n Pay. They come in little packs of 10. They are fantastic. You can just pop them in the pan if you want to give them a little bit of a heat through, or they're absolutely perfect like this. These are actually the brown tortilla wraps. So what I first want you to do is to grab this. You'll see inside your box, you've got this beautiful little board, which is going to be your presentation board where all your canapes are going to go. The first one we've got also goes into this beautiful little bamboo boat. So what I want you to do is I want you to place the bamboo boat onto your board and then get your wrap. There's 2 of these in there, so 1 each for each of you. And you put it in basically so it curls up nicely so all of the fillings can go in there really nicely. All right. So as we're moving along, we can see what else is inside. We're going to put into our little tortilla wrap. We've got some crunchy, some red cabbage, and this has just been cut into a little quarter. We're going to take the core off and we're going to slice that very thinly. We've also got some chorizo, and chorizo is fantastic flavor. It'll go really, really nicely with this as well. It's slightly smoked. There's a little bit of paprika in there. Obviously, this is pork. Pick n Pay have really done a great job over the last couple of years to really ensure that all of their pork that they sell there is sour friendly as well, which is fantastic.
Wonderful.
And then we've got some lime, and that lime also is going to work really nicely with that Chenin Blanc, and a little bit of lime mayo as well. All right, so before we get started, now I want you to first grab your red cabbage, and you'll sometimes see that there's a little bit of a core in there. We've kept that on so it all stays nicely together, but that is quite hard and chunky, and I want you to slice that off. So maybe if you've got a camera, you can get a little bit closer in here. You can see me just taking off that white little chunk, and that can be placed aside. All right, so you'll see that there's lots of layers in here, and what we were going to wanting to do is we're going to want to slice it very, very thinly. It's another French cooking term called chiffonating, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to chiffonade this together. All right, so just roll your knife over it just to make sure that you've got some really nice thin little slices, and we're going to pop that into a bowl, and that is also going to be part of our preparation. That's our mise en place, as I was explaining to you earlier. All right, so get your sous chef to do that if you want to, your husband or your wife. Put that into a little bowl.
I'm amazed you can do that and talk and not cut your fingers off at the same time.
Sometimes I have cut my fingers off, and that's a little bit embarrassing. All right, so you've got that into a bowl, and now we're going to slice our chorizo very thinly. As I explained, this chorizo is it's a Spanish cured sausage. So it's been cured, it's been air dried, and you're just going to slice that very thinly into some little rounds. It's got some fat in there, which gives it a nice sort of like a good mouthfeel. And then we'll place that on the side as well. You're only going to need about 3 little slivers for each of your tortillas. So you can place that into a bowl and get that ready. All right. And then the last little thing we've got here is our lime mayo. And that's going to work particularly well as well. So when we do these pairings, we always sort of look at different flavors and what works well and what works well with different wines. Generally, a Chenin generally has quite a lot of fruity notes, doesn't it? A lot of fresh fruit, sometimes tropical fruit. A lot of the times they talk about pineapple. A lot of times they talk about kiwis. With this wine, we're looking at quite a little bit more acidity than a normal Chenin. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. I think the age of the wine also plays a role. I think in its youth, like you say, there's a lot of sort of freshness to it, a lot of vitality, beautiful acidity.
Yeah.
If you do keep the wine for a number of years, you know, you're going to get riper notes, you're going to get some honey notes and some almonds. But right here, right now, I think these are the perfect ingredients. When I look at the wine, I think of floral notes, I think of a bit of fruity notes. I like that lemony zestiness.
Yeah.
And then there's also, you must understand that there's as I said, the wine is the expression of the place. So the farm is alive, it's vibrant, it's teeming with life. It's got birds and bees and all kinds of flowers and beautiful things. And some of that goes through and manifests itself in the wine as well. So when you taste it tonight, look for that vitality and that freshness and that liveliness of the wine, completely unadulterated.
Perfect. All right, cool. And just so we don't forget as well, we've also, obviously, when we're talking about this apple, we're going to also do a little bit of preparation as well. And this is what your apple is for. Okay, so we're going to slice that up very, very thinly. And I'll show you how to do that. Grab your apple and just take a couple of cheeks off, which they call a cheek of the apple, in a very thin little way. There we go. So if you can see over there, we're just doing some very, very thin little slices of apple. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut them into battens. And a batten is basically like a very, very thin little matchstick. So once you have got that, lay them onto the board, 3 little cheeks of apple, and then just slice them very thinly into little matchsticks. If you want to have a look over there, you're looking at tiny little matchsticks like that. Doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, believe me. It'll all taste delicious in the end. All right. So we'll pop that into another little bowl, ready to go. Couple of matchsticks. There we go. I'll let you guys have some time to catch up on that. And while we're talking about the apple and the flavors, let's open that bottle of wine.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
I'll pour some Shannon.
Let's pour some Shannon. That'll be great.
Okay, man.
Okay. And is there a temperature of that we need to kind of look at when we're drinking Shannon?
I think so. So they often refer to sort of coolish room temperature, but I think the idea is more European room temperature than South African room temperature. So in terms of Celsius, about 16 degrees is optimal. If you make it too cold, the wine can actually be quite shy. I know if it's like a beautiful sunny day and you're by the pool and you want to put in some blocks of ice, it cools it down and it's very refreshing. But to really see the wine, warts and all, if you want it too cold, it's going to hide some of the more subtle parts of the wine. And then too warm is obviously also not great.
Yeah.
But at this point, I just want to say something. I think wine must be inclusive rather than exclusive. And the last thing people must worry about is to do it right.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is no real right or wrong. It is right for you. You drink the wine, you taste in the wine what you taste in the wine. You like it, you don't like it. It's really, it's subjective.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a beautiful thing, and people mustn't be intimidated by wine, and it should smell like this, and it should taste like this, and it must be at this temperature and the right glass. And it's lekker if you want to do it that way, but completely relax it if you just want to do it your own way as well.
I completely agree, and that's really where we also want to get to with our wine pairings as well. It's really about what works for you and what you would take out of it as well. So it's going to be a good wine pairing, I guarantee you, because we're around good people, we're in good company, and we're going to have fun to do this. So that's the most important. All right. So we should have all kept up now. We've done our little preparation. We've got our tortilla wraps into our boat, and we're going to start building this now. So we've got our crunchy red cabbage, which we're going to place a few little bits on the bottom, run it in a line down the middle, because we are going to turn up the tortilla wrap like that. All right, so place a little bit there. We've got our chorizo, which we've thinly sliced. Let's place 3 or 4 little discs of the chorizo in the middle. I like to just add a small amount on top of that as well of the cabbage. And then now we're going to use these little battens, these crispy, crunchy, fruity, kind of a little bit acidic. We've gone with a nice green apple, which is quite nice and sort of acidic, and we're going to place that on top. And then just to end off, we've got our lime mayo as well. So that I've just snipped the end of the piping bag, and we're going to drizzle this over. It's basically a little bit of mayo, a little bit of lime juice, a little drizzle on the top.
It looks lovely. Looking
good. If you do have a grater, you know what would be cool as well? If you've got a grater, it'll be nice to give a little bit of a zest of that lemon on top of that, and that'll really sort of bring out the aroma. Yeah. If not, let's just slice a small little amount off and drizzle a little bit of that lime juice on top. I love limes. As opposed to a lemon, it's like, it's so fragrant. It's unbelievable. I'm a big fan. All right, nice. So guys, you should have your little tortilla wrap with chorizo, apple battens, a little bit of the lime mayo, and of course the crispy red cabbage. Please take photos of the dishes that you're doing and post them to social media. Make sure that you are using the hashtag P&P Wine Club as well as Reyneke Wines. As Dan did mention, that there is going to be a winner at the end of the evening. There's actually going to be 5 winners at the end of the evening, and they're each going to receive 200 Rands worth of Smart Shopper points. So please do take pictures, turn your cameras on. We'd love to see the dishes that you've made. And now for the really exciting part is we're going to try the wine as well. All right, so let's
cheers.
Cheers.
And cheers, everybody.
Cheers, everybody.
Thanks for joining us.
What we're going to do is we're going to drink a little bit of wine, taste it, see what you feel about the wine.
Yeah, look at the color, smell it, taste it. But again, remember, there's no right or wrong. It's just what you get from it.
Absolutely. And I absolutely love it. I'm a massive fan of Chenin.
It's a lovely grape.
It is a lovely grape. Very, very versatile. Yeah. You can eat it, you drink it with a lot of you can eat it.
Of course.
With a lot of different food. Yeah. It's super versatile.
Yeah.
It's light enough. It's not too heavy. But the interesting thing about Shannon as well is these days that there's a lot of different types of Shannon. Or I find that the Shannon's become quite complex. There's a lot of oaking of Shannon now as well. Shannon has been sitting on the barrel for quite a while, and it changes quite considerably.
A lot.
But yeah, for me, it's one of my favorite.
And it's also, I don't know if you've heard of the Old Vine Project. So generally in South Africa, when vineyards are about 25 years old, they would often uproot them and replant them with new vines so they could have higher yields. But vines are a lot like people. You know, when you're young, it's nice and a lot of energy and very interesting. But if you look at old people, I think they have a wealth of wisdom, and they've got like a depth of character and balance, and we can learn so much from them. And vineyards do the same. And the funny thing with Shannon is there's actually quite a bunch of old Chenin Blanc vineyards that were not removed and replanted, and these are being discovered and put on the map, and they're making world-class Chenin Blancs. And like you said, they it's not just stainless steel ferment. Some ferment in oak barrique. Some people play now with clay amphora. There are many routes up the mountain.
Yeah.
But I think again the idea is, well, here at least, is not to make it, but to just allow it to be.
Absolutely.
And you know, that's what sets wine and Coca-Cola or beer apart, is one you can make in a factory, but the other one really has a sense of place. The soil, the sun, the rain, the wind, how high the bunch hangs from the ground, whether the row goes north-south or east-west, where the sun goes. I mean, the variables are endless. It's fascinating. And if you think about it, as winemakers, we get, you know, 1 chance a year to get it right.
Yeah,
so you only get like 40 or 50 chances. So if you get a good wine, just enjoy it. There's a lot of love that goes into it, and if it comes right, and that's a special product, man.
Either that or buy a couple cases and put a few in the cellar for afterwards.
It's a good investment, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So do you want to try this? Would you like to try it?
I would love to.
Please do.
Thank you.
Basically what we're going to do, everybody, it's your turn to also try. So
is there a specific way I must eat it?
Turn it up on the sides.
Do I just roll it up?
You can just hold the 2 sides together so it doesn't fall out. You can eat that, and then this is the kind of pairing that we do. So we're going to taste a little bit of the wine first, pop it into our mouth, taste it and chew it a little bit, and have another sip of the wine as well. And then you can really kind of get the taste of and the nose and everything of the wine as well. All right, and we do have a question that's coming through while we are doing the tasting. Do organic wines go off?
In a very good way, yes. This food is going off. It's delicious. I stand amazed.
Amazing.
This guy's a genius. I can't believe he can create this out of these few ingredients. I'm a believer, man. It's
good. I'm glad. And that's why it's so simple for you guys to do at home as well. And if you are wanting to recreate any of the dishes, please do go buy yourself some Reyneke wines, create these dishes, and hopefully you can do this at home. But we did have a question to saying, would organic wine go off? Which is a good question actually, because sometimes you think that like organic wine doesn't have any preservatives or something
Yes.
like that into it.
Okay, so let's talk about what makes an organic wine and do they last? Do they go off? So for me, I like to start in the vineyard because this is where they come from. And the vineyards are approached differently and the wine making is also approached differently. So in the vineyard, what happens is, we're not hunter-gatherers anymore, we're farmers. And farmers use herbicides and pesticides and fungicides, not because they enjoy using them, but they have to use them to protect their crops and to get sustainable yields. So if you, like me, do not want to use the herbicides and pesticides and fungicides anymore, you have to put something else in place. If you don't put something in place, your farm goes back to wilderness and things fall apart. So let's look at it. So why do people use herbicides? So they use herbicides because they want to remove the competition the weeds have with the vines. But if you go for a walk in nature, you'll only find bare soil where it's been cleared by man or by women or by people. So for the plants and the soil to interact, it must be covered. And then you have to ask yourself, what do I do? Do I remove these weeds for the sake of my vines, or do I leave them for the sake of my soil? Now, fortunately, those aren't your only two options. It's not a binary issue. What we do is we cover the soil with plants that are actually beneficial to the vine. So we'll use certain things like legumes, like lupins or clovers, things like that, sow them in the vineyards, and they fix nitrogen and give the food to the vineyards. We'll use other plants that will harbor predators for the pests we might have rather than using pesticides. It's just a kind of working with nature as opposed to sort of fighting with it. So what we try to do is to take this philosophy of working with nature and sort of less is more approach, and we try to extend that philosophy into the winemaking part of the business as well. So in the old days when I made normal wine or conventional wine, I would harvest my grapes. I would then crush and destem them. I would buy a packet of yeast. So depending on what flavors I wanted to showcase, I would use, I don't know, VIN 11 or 12 or 13, add that, and then I would feed the yeast with a bit of DAP, which is diammonium phosphate. I might do some additions on the reds, a bit of tartaric acid. It becomes it's all fine, but it's a process of control. And what we're trying to do now is to kind of just let them be. So we do wild yeast ferments. We don't add any of the other stuff, very light filtrations. But that brings me now to the question about the longevity of organic wines. So what people must know is that some of the top wines in the world are organic. So if you look at Romani Conti, for example, I'm not sure, I think you will pay like $60,000 for a single bottle of the wine if you're lucky enough to get one. Now, these wines will last forever, and they've been farmed organically for a long time. And if you think of us as the human race, we've been farming organically for 6,000 years. Conventional farming, actually, in the way we know it now, only started after the First World War. So it works. It's not new. It's not difficult. It's not rocket science. It's just different. And it appeals to some people, not more than to others. It really appeals to me. But the organics won't really influence the longevity of the wine. I think what will influence it is the terroir. So if you look at this Shannon that we're tasting now, for example, as I mentioned right in the beginning, imagine sunshine, sandy soils. It makes it easier to drink wine, more floral, more fruity at a younger age. But I would probably try and drink this wine within the first 5 years. If you want a wine that can last a decade or two, can still be a Shannon, can still be from Reyneke, but I'll then take something that comes from higher up the hill, that grow on granite soils that really struggled, and that wine will typically be a bit austere in its youth and not so nice, but if you put that away for a number of years, it will really come to the fore and come into its own. But yes, organic wines, they last, and some of the best wines in the world are organic.
That's so interesting. Thank you for that. It really is interesting. I really do love listening to you about this.
Yeah, but this pairing is great, man. I think it does really well.
Good. I'm glad, and I hope you enjoyed it at home too, and you're enjoying the Shannon. We are going to move over to the second canapé now, which is going to be the spiced red onion marmalade. We've got a chickpea tart. We've got a beautiful nut crumble, and we've also got some goat cheese mousse as well. And that we're going to be doing with the Shiraz Cabernet Sauvignon.
Lekker.
Yeah, exactly.
Super.
And I love that wine as well. I'm a big fan of the Shiraz as well. And this is kind of the reason why we've decided to go with this sort of little bit more spicy, spicy canapé. We've got this beautiful onion marmalade, which we've made. Simple red onions, cook it down with a little bit of red wine, a little bit of white pepper as well. And that sort of would work well with the Shiraz too. And then we're also going to include this, which is this goat cheese mousse, which is basically using a normal goat cheese, which you whipped it up a little bit with a little bit of cream, and it makes it a little bit more malleable. And we're going to pop that into a chickpea tart, actually. So this is an interesting one. Yeah. So we've made these chickpea cases, and we're using chickpea flour, which is opposed to, we're using a little bit of chickpea flour, a little bit of normal flour, but it just gives it a little bit more of a nuttiness, a little bit of nutty flavor. And so this is slightly different, which is great. So similar kind of thing, what I'm saying, make sure that you've got all of your station nice and clean. You put down your tart. There are two tarts in the box for you. So you're going to have one each. You can take it out of that little foil tin and place it onto the board. You'll see that you've just got simple ingredients here, but the flavors work so well. Spiced jam, marmalade, goat's cheese mousse, and a little bit of nut crumble as well. All right.
Can I pour some Shiraz for us along?
Love to. That would be fantastic. Thank you.
You know, what's interesting is you talk about the spice and the peppery notes. So just for our colleagues or our, I don't know what.
Friends at home.
Friends at home. Shiraz is a very interesting grape. And it's known for those sort of peppery and spicy notes. But what you may not know is that the stems of the bunches actually play a very important role.
Oh, really?
So if, for example, the last one we're going to do, the Cab Merlot Blend, then you must be very careful, because if you get some Cabernet stems into the wine, it can be green and hard and tannic and austere and unripe. But what Shiraz does is the stems are quite soft, and what we do is we actually add stems to the ferment, and that gives a lot of these pepper notes that comes
into the
wine. Yeah,
that's so interesting.
So what we'll do is we'll stem the bunches into a concrete fermenter, and then right at the top we'll just add some of the stems as well, and then they bubble away for 21 days, 3 weeks. And then we'll do a light press, and we'll take them to French barriques, and then just let them be for a year before we rack them and put them in bottle.
Incredible. I like that. That's awesome. I didn't know that at all. And so that's going to work perfectly with this. And so as everyone got their tarts ready, get a little bit of a teaspoon or whatever spoon, and you're going to place this into the center of your tarts. And this has got a nice sweetness as well, which would work quite nicely. So place that into the center of your tart. And then we've got our goat's cheese mousse. And the goat's cheese, actually, I really do enjoy goat's cheese with the red wine. Often there's sometimes a little bit of acidity or a little bit of tannins and stuff. And the goat's cheese really sort of cuts through. It's quite like a rich kind of like...
They just complement each other beautifully. Yeah, I
completely.
Agree. Yeah.
So you'll see, you've got your tart with the red onion marmalade in it, and you've got your little piping bag. We're going to put little dollops in it. You can do it any way you want to. You can zigzag it around. I like to do little dollops inside there. 1, 2, or 3, or 4, or 5. Place it like that. That's quite cute. And then we're going to end that off with this, which is a little sachet of mixed roast spiced nuts. And that just gives it a little bit of a nuttiness. Open that up. And you can just drizzle that on top. So simple. I mean, that is literally, it's 3 ingredients inside there, but it works so well. The onion marmalade, if you don't have time to make it yourself, a little bit of jam inside there would work well. Some berries would come through. It'd be nice, to, as I said, to add a little bit of the white pepper, because it would work so well with the Shiraz. So
can I ask you a question? So
of course.
If you look at the Shiraz, if you turn the bottle around, well, I'm saying that, and I might be lying to you. No, I'm not lying to you. So if you look at the back, you'll see it says 98% Shiraz and 2% Cabernet Sauvignon. So why we do that is, if you look at Jonathan or my body, we've got a spine that keeps us up straight. And that's what the Cab does. And then the Shiraz kind of folds it out and gives it a bit of roundness and softness. And we find that without the Cab, it's still beautiful, but the Cab just gives it a bit of houding is the Afrikaans word. Structure. So now I'm looking at what you're putting together here.
Yeah.
I was wondering what was in your mind when you created that. I mean, 3 ingredients.
Absolutely.
It's a big step, just 3 ingredients, but what do the different ingredients do to the taste? And
well, that's a good question as well. And so the same thing what we were doing there, whenever you're putting together a dish, also you need to think about 3 things in my mind as well. You're thinking of the sweetness, you're thinking about the balance of flavors, you're thinking about also textures as well. So you've got the sweetness of the jams, you've got the creaminess of the goat cheese mousse, which would cut through a little bit of that sweetness, and then you've got the crunch as well.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that it all kind of brings it all together. So hopefully you've also done that, and everything is looking beautiful on your guys' plate. As I mentioned before, time to take a photo. Let's hashtag that out. Let's get this out onto social media. PNP Wine Club and Reyneke Wines hashtag. Use those hashtags. Take photos. You want to win the 200 rands worth of Smart Shopper points. All right, cool. And yeah, so what we have done is we've actually made these little tarts. You can certainly go to the Pick and Pay bakery, and they do make little tarts there as well. And what we've done here is we've actually made our own using some of the Pick and Pay products, using the Live Well range of the chickpea flour. They're available in 500-gram bags of the chickpea flour. If you do want to have the recipe, please drop us a little note and I'll send you the recipe for these beautiful little tarts. But if you want to have the normal tart shells, they are available at Pick and Pay. All right, so yeah, take photos, guys. Let's get this done. So you've both definitely poured yourself a little glass and you're enjoying it.
Man,
I'm enjoying this as well.
Put your nose in there. It's just beautiful. So I don't know about you guys, but for me, I'm getting lots of dark fruits, dark berries, black currants. I mean, it's just lovely. And then there's a bit of licorice even, and aniseed coming in, and then the pepper behind. And
I can definitely get that licorice as well. Hey? It's good.
It's just like layered. It's stunning. It's showing really well tonight.
Good. And I'm going to give you the honors of doing the pairing as well on this one. Take a little bite.
Tough job.
Tough job, Ham.
Thanks,
You're doing a hell of a good job.
I'm just going to do my best not to
put it all the way down.
Stirred.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
but a good bite with a bit of everything in the mouth.
With a bit of everything,
Okay.
exactly.
So it might take a while, so excuse me.
No problem at all. You enjoy that. So normally that's how we do pairings. As I said, you take a little sip, take a nice bite, let all the flavors coat your mouth, swallow it down, have another sip of the wine, let that coat your mouth, and let those flavors really marry together. And often when we're talking about pairings, you know, as I said, there are no rules with pairings, but there are certain things which do work. Sometimes they don't work so well. And often what I think is that when you are doing a pairing, it's quite important to either match bold flavors with bold flavors or sort of cleaner, lighter flavors with other lighter flavors. So sometimes a good example maybe is that if you've got something which is really sort of heavy, like a spicy curry, it's not going to hold up so well to like a lighter wine, but it's something that it's got a little bit more spice and a little bit more body would hold up to that. Or if you say something like you've got a very delicate soul, you don't want to have a heavy wine with
Heavy cab with it,
you know, you want to have something which is quite light. So bold with bold, light with light sometimes works as well.
I think it works very well.
Good.
I don't even want to pinpoint it. It's almost like the whole is greater than the sum of the parts on this. Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's a lovely pairing. I stand amazed.
Good. Yeah, so the berries would work well as well. So if you want to put a berry jam in there or something, that would work quite nicely because
with the red fruits and the black currants and the stuff in the wine.
Exactly. So yeah, it works, which is fantastic.
And the syrah and the cheese and the pepper and the cheese and for sure.
Good. Yeah. No, it is really about playing around and finding the pairings that work for you. So I would say go out and buy a couple bottles of wine and then just enjoy it over a couple of dishes. You know, I always say also, you know, it all depends on where you are and the sort of circumstance that you are in. You know, like if you're sitting on the side of a shore and the waves are crashing and you've got a beautiful bottle of Sauvignon Blanc, like it doesn't matter what it is, it's going to be amazing with that fish and chips that you're eating. You know what I mean? Like it is about that, and it's about finding things that work for you. So there are no rules. Go out and experiment, and that's why the Pick and Pay Wine Club is so great, because they just offer so many great specials. It's just opening it up to everybody, which is really what the whole point of this is about.
Oh, it's lekker.
Good.
Well done.
Good. And there's been a question actually, is how do you whip goat cheese? So very, very simply, you'll buy normally those little logs of goat cheese at your Pick and Pay. You take it out, you let it come to room temperature, which is quite important because it does soften before that. Put it into a bowl, get a little whisk, and add a small amount of cream, or if you even want milk, you can just whip it up, whip it up, whip it up. It does soften quite easily. You can start it off with a fork if you want to, just to kind of mash it and get it going. But then it does make it really nice and soft. So, and then you can add in different things if you want to. You can add a little bit of a red pepper or white pepper to that. You can add some herbs. You can add a little bit of lemon zest, some lime zest, anything that you want to add to that and give that a little bit of flavoring. So you can play around it a little bit if you want.
Be creative.
Be creative. That's what it's all about. All right, good stuff. I hope you have enjoyed that. That was the Shiraz Cabernet Sauvignon. Really, really fantastic. I enjoyed that too. And we've got some time, thank goodness, for another one. And what do we have on the next one on the cards?
We're now looking at a Cab Merlot blend, equal parts. Cabernet 50%, Merlot 50%. Similar to the Shiraz, the Cab kind of gives the backbone, and the Merlot softens it out and fills it out and gives it the beautiful curves. The blending is definitely not unique to Reyneke. It's what's also known as a Bordeaux blend. So in the Bordeaux region of France, they actually used to blend 5 cultivars, but the dominant ones would be Cabernet, Merlot. They pair very well, and makes for a lovely drinking wine. Let's try it.
Absolutely, I'm very, very keen to try this one. So is that quite a, when you talk about a Bordeaux blend, is that often 50%, 50%?
No, I think what happens is quality dictates the blend. It depends on the vintage. So what the Cab can do is, Cabernet is actually a interesting grape to grow. It tends to make smaller bunches, smaller clusters, smaller berries. And if you can visualize it, you've got the flesh of the grape and the skin of the grape. And a lot of the color and the flavor, and especially the tannin, comes from the skin of the grape, not from the flesh of the grape. And the difference between making red wine and white wine is the skin contact. So the white grapes, you just press and you ferment the juice. But the red wine, you obviously keep the grapes on the skins for as long as 3 weeks to get all those beautiful flavors out. But with Cabernet, because the bunches are small and the berries are small, you can imagine you get a lot of skin for a little flesh. And it can make the wine quite austere.
Yes.
So it would need a bit of time to age and to soften. And that's what the Merlot does. So the Merlot just comes with a beautiful softening curves and says,
I see, yes.
Okay, you can drink me now. And that's what they do. And then they obviously give different components to the wine. So if you look at this, I would say a lot of it's nice. I don't know.
Great on the nose.
Yeah. But a lot of the sort of the red fruits and the red berries and the things that I'm getting here is coming from the Merlot. But then you can almost smell a bit of cedar wood, maybe even imagine if you sharpen a pencil, a bit of graphite. That's all Cabernet. That's
but this is a very drinkable wine, and that's obviously from the Merlot. It's very, very soft and smooth, and it brings it out nicely.
And then with regards to the previous question on the ageability, I think what the Cab would do here is to really allow you to put this bottle away for a number of years as well if you wanted to.
Well, that's good.
So the Merlot kind of makes it really nice now, but the Cab means you can also drink it in 5 years' time and you won't be disappointed. You'll be like, yay, I did it.
Fantastic. All right, cool. Yes, so what we'll do is we will send through a tart recipe for you guys later as well. You will just, we'll drop you that into a mail for you guys. And we're going to move over to the last pairing, which is a beautiful little biscotti. It's a chocolate biscotti. It's got some hazelnuts in it as well. It's fantastic. It's really, really good. We've got a few different components here as well. We've got hazelnuts. It brings out some really good nuttiness. We've also got some berries, which we've got some nice cranberries here, which gives it a little bit of a tartness and also some sweetness to it as well. So you've got your biscotti. You're going to place it onto your board as well. Same vibe. Let's just get a little bit sort of creative, one over the other. We've also got a little bit of some toasted coconut, and this really is just an assembly. So an interesting part of this is this beautiful little bag here, which we've made a bit of a hazelnut praline chocolate kind of thing, super simple. I'll tell you if you want to have the recipe for this as well. It's so simple. You literally get hazelnuts, you roast them in the oven, you blitz them up, you add a little bit of cocoa powder and a little bit of coconut oil and some sugar, and you basically made yourself your own Nutella. And this is basically what it is.
Wow.
So it's so good.
You've got to tell my kids that.
Yeah, exactly. So place that onto the board. That's really, really good and very easy. Okay, cool. Why is the bottle of Shiraz and Bordeaux different? Cool. What we'll do is we'll answer that question right now.
Can I answer that question?
You can answer that question, yes. While we're just putting it together. So I'll just tell you quickly one combination. We're going to be placing the cranberries on top of the biscotti. Just drizzle that over and place that on top. Then we're going to put a little bit of the hazelnut on top. And while I'm doing that, you can answer the question about the Bordeaux and the Shiraz.
Okay. It's just looking so nice. I'm struggling not to dive in and try it.
There we go.
I'm the lucky guinea pig today. As you can see, I get to try all the nice things that Jonathan is putting together for us. So there was a question about the bottle shapes. So you can see the Shiraz and the Cabernet are in different bottles. I don't know if you can see it, but this is Burgundy bottle, and this is Claret. So what it does is it doesn't do anything to the wine. It just tells you a bit about the history of the grapes. So if you go to France and you go to Bordeaux, that is where they, how can I put this? South Africa, we've been making wine for 300 years, and that sounds like a long time, but it's still a relatively young wine industry. The French have been doing this forever. So what they've done is where we grow Shannon and we grow Shiraz and we grow Cab on our farm, in France, they've discovered that the different parts of France actually suit different grapes to a better or worse degree. So if you go to the Rhone area of France, that is where Shiraz is traditionally grown. And in that area, they used to use these type of bottle shapes. And in the Bordeaux region of France, that's where they grow Merlot and Cabernet, and they traditionally used these bottle shapes. So it's nothing to do with the taste of the wine or to affect the wine in any way. It's just showing a bit of respect for the history and the culture of the specific grape and its origins, where it came from.
And so that has been taken and adopted worldwide.
Yeah.
So wherever you are in the world, generally a Shiraz would be in a bottle, in that bottle.
Exactly. In this type of bottle, and a Cab Merlot or a Bordeaux blend would be in this type of bottle.
Yeah.
What is also interesting is if you will see that some people call the grape Shiraz
and Shiraz,
and some people call it Syrah.
That's a good question, and I have the same question. Can you answer that?
Yeah, so it's exactly the same grape, but it is just spelled differently in different parts of the world.
Okay.
So if you look at the world of wine and you imagine a sort of a rainbow or a spectrum, I would say French wines would be on the one side and Australian wines would be on the other. And it's simply a climatic function. Australia gets a lot of sunshine. So you're going to get ripe fruit, big alcohol, bold wines. French, cool climate, a lot of acidity, fresh, longevity. If you step in, you're going to get California and other whatever, but you come to the middle, you find South Africa. So if you find a South African Shiraz that's more New World, we'll call it Shiraz. And if it's more Old World, like typically French, it will be labeled as Syrah. But it's the same grape. It just shows the more New World expression of it or the more old school traditional expression of it.
Okay, interesting. Fantastic. I like that too. So hopefully you have caught up with your dessert and you've got your biscotti on your board. It should have the cranberries lying on top. a little bit of the drizzle of the hazelnut chocolate drizzle, and a little bit of the toasted coconut. It looks quite abstract. It tastes delicious. And it's your turn again, my friend. You are going to have this pairing. Take a little bit of sip of your wine. Take a taste of that. It's some crunchiness. It's some little bit of sweetness. There's obviously the berries, the chocolate as well. Wow. It's quite decadent. It's a lovely way to end off this pairing.
Put a berry on there for me as well.
Put a berry on there as well. So pour yourself a glass of wine. It is a Friday. You guys are in relax. There's no more work tomorrow. Hopefully you're going to finish all of your wine tonight and have a great evening. How was that? Things are looking good in the corner there. 2 thumbs up. Fantastic. Awesome. Well, this was really, 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 really good.
I apologize. My mom taught me not to speak with a mouthful.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
Good.
Really nice. I think it pairs very well. You got all of it. You got the chocolatey bits, you got the fruity bits.
Yeah.
You got the chocolate in the cab, the fruit in the Merlot.
Perfect.
Well done, man.
Good. Huh? Good. I'm glad.
Good.
And all these ingredients are obviously available at Pick n Pay, so you can go out and make it yourself. It's very important, as we said, to go out, buy some wine from the Pick n Pay as well. And now's your opportunity, because you can get these wines for 25% less at the moment. They were 95 Rand. You can get them for 71 Rand, 20 something or other, if my maths are correct. I don't know if that works out, but 71 Rand, 20.
I might just go and buy them myself.
Exactly.
Wow. That's
so
a good
for
price.
all those wines are all 25% off. And then also you're very lucky to have a voucher inside your box for 100 Rand off any purchase of wine when you purchase it on Pick n Pay online. So you guys really have done well tonight. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been very, very insightful. It's honestly a fantastic story, and I've really enjoyed speaking to you, Hans. So thank you very, very much.
Jonathan, same. And just last, also thanks to Dan, the man. I just want to say, please come and visit us. Come to the farm, Jonathan.
I certainly will.
We're going to have a problem because we both like surfing, so I might meet him at the beach instead.
I think so.
The rest of you, please come to the farm, and our door is open, and I can't offer you this amazing culinary skills, but I've got a lot of wine to share with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you again to Reyneke, as well as Pick n Pay online as well. And make sure that you have posted all your photos to social media using the hashtags PNP Wine Club, because Dan is going to announce a couple of the winners where you have the chance to win 200 Rands worth of Smart Shopper points. So thank you, everybody. Please post. Please come back. We do have another one in the next little while. I think it's almost in 2 weeks' time. So please come back. It was a great pleasure. And thank you very, very much. All right. Have a good evening. And over to Dan.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Oh, apologies for the delay there. That's entirely my fault. I've been polishing off some fabulous food, some great wine. What did you think of those combinations? For me, the triumph of nights like this is, yes, the wine's terrific. Yes, the food is lovely. But in concert, they just bring the best out of each other. I thought the chocolate at the end, picking up on those notes of the red wine, that Merlot coming through were great. But for me, Chenin Blanc and food is just devastatingly good, and all the more so when it is made by Johan and when the food is made by Jonathan. What a terrific combination. We have a quick poll for you. It's an informal poll, and just throw it up anywhere you like on social media. But what do you think Johan Reyneke's greatest triumph is? Is it making amazing wine, or was it starring in The Mentalist for so many years? So weigh that up, see what you think, and send us through your answers. What you have done is sent us through some photos. Now, you've sent us through some terrific photos, and thank you very much for them. And I've got the winners. And these have been drawn very carefully by a guy called Ricardo, who studied in Switzerland for 8 years to pick winners for competitions. That's how seriously Pick n Pay take this. So here are our 5 winners. from Facebook, from Twitter, from Instagram, and one of our friends in Pietermaritzburg via fax. So thank you all very much. And here are our winners. Wesley Turner Dauncey, Cord Capers, Sigi Shaw, Karen O'Hare, and Brian Airy. You have each won 200 Rand worth of Smart Shopper points. Thank you for being part of it and enjoy a well-deserved prize. Of course, you're getting so much tonight. It's not just the food and the wine and the sparkling interaction of a great chef and a fine winemaker. You're getting, as was mentioned by Jonathan, the 25% off an already ridiculously well-priced wine if you are a member of the Pick n Pay Wine Club. And on top of that, there's that voucher from Pick n Pay Online for 100 Rand. And again, a big thank you to Pick n Pay Online and to the Wine Club for being such a terrific part of this evening and for allowing us to get all the wine, get all the food out to you and allow you to enjoy it virtually with us here in the studio in Cape Town. Now, you've loved it. You think that was amazing. There is going to be a Johan and Jonathan shaped hole in my life for the foreseeable future. Well, we can't bring Johan back just yet because there's a new season of The Mentalist, but we can bring Jonathan back, and we're going to be bringing him back with one of the iconic South African wine labels, Durbanville Hills, in 2 weeks' time, or a shade under. Thursday the 26th is the next edition of the Pick n Pay Virtual Winemakers Table. Jonathan will be back with some more devastatingly good food that's surprisingly easy to make when you have his guidance, and the team from Durbanville Hills taking us through some terrific wine from that beautifully placed estate that takes such wonderful advantage of the cool breezes coming in off Table Bay. At the end of this evening, we'll ask you if you have a moment just to jump on the poll that you'll see on the page via Zoom, just to let us know what you liked, what you didn't, what we can maybe improve on, what you'd like to know more about, so we can ensure you get the very best out of this particular evening. It's been an absolute pleasure having all of you, and you're certainly welcome if there's a big enough group to finish off the wine, but this is all wine that over the next 2-3 days will be absolutely fine. And in fact, you'll often find, especially with red wines, but also with white, how over a day or two, they open up a bit, they change in character ever so slightly, and you sometimes pick up some different notes and characteristics, and that's just one of the many fascinating elements of wine. You've been drinking some terrific wine from what for me is the best wine producing country in the world. Today, a wonderful winemaker who makes wine the right way, and now with your understanding of organic wine as well, I think you're well placed to go out and take advantage the terrific wine that's made so well that's available to you at Pick n Pay across South Africa. Have a lovely, lovely weekend. Thank you so much for joining us. Big thank you to our technical crew. There are 82 people behind the scenes making this happen, and they've done a terrific, terrific job. Have a great weekend. Keep drinking and supporting South African wine. And on behalf of Pick n Pay, of Johan Reyneke Wines, and Jonathan, chef extraordinaire from Source Food, it's been a delight having you all. Good evening and goodbye.